Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, and we are live on Cliff Central with Lebang and Gareth. Yes, there we are. That's the way to start your Wednesday morning. Isn't that right? So,
Lovely.
Lebang has returned triumphantly. She was at Rocking the Daisies. How did that go?
I think a little bit too much rocking occurred because I'm still recovering from all the rocking. No, it was
Oh,
very
yeah?
very nice. Yeah, it was too much. It was too much fun. Very little sleep, too much walking. If I had one of those smartwatches that counts steps, I think per day I did like 18,000 steps. It was crazy, but it was
Wow.
dope. Music, yeah, it
Was
was a
that
lot of
steps?
walking.
Is that steps or dance steps?
I think no, it's actual walking from one tent to the other, trying to find one performance and then trying to get back to where I sleep. And But it was very, very cool. Very, very
How
nice. I left
many
my voice there.
How many performances are on at a thing like this? I mean, I haven't been
Mm,
to one of these for ages, so you have to
mm.
fill me in. Like, how does it all work?
So for this particular event, there were like 5 different stages with like different genres that are playing throughout. So at any time of the weekend, you can go to whichever stage you want. But I'd say performances start. Well, the music switches on at like 8 a.m. and it switches off at
Yo,
4 a.m. So from
yo,
8 a.m. till 4 a.m., like there's this
that's
music going on the whole time. There's an app where you can check what time your favorite artist will be performing. So
wow.
yeah, there's a lot of exhaustion, of course, a lot of walking around, but it's just interesting, like meeting people from all over the world. You hear all sorts of accents. You'll be walking
Yeah,
past one stage and you hear Guten Morgen, and you're like, whoa, people actually flew all the way from there,
ah,
just to come and check it out. And yeah, it's really dope. It was nice. Can't wait to do it again.
that's very cool.
It
How
was
nice.
very cool. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so how long is the whole thing? Do you go for what, like the whole
Friday.
weekend?
Yeah,
So it's Friday
Friday
night,
till
Saturday
Sunday.
night.
Yeah, Friday night,
Uh,
Saturday night, you can camp there or you can like, drive back and forth. And then on Sunday, what they do is they fly some of the performers out to Joburg. So that if you
uh,
weren't able to do the Cape Town leg, which was like a full weekend, you can just go for one day in Joburg. So yeah, it's pretty well thought out. It's literally one of like the top 20 festivals in the world. Like that's that good. So
all right.
yeah, yeah, good stuff. Good
How
stuff.
cool. How cool is that?
Yeah. It was very cool, very,
Nice.
very cool. But I will admit, I was very exhausted. Like I just at some point I'm like, damn, I miss my kids. Like I was on the dance floor, like thinking like, did I leave enough nappies? Okay, there's enough more. Like I couldn't
You
just,
see,
help that.
yeah, I'm afraid like that's always going to be there, right? That's like your number
Oh
one
yeah.
priority. So even if you are like relaxed and having a good time and actually treating yourself to something which every parent should do, let's
Yep.
be clear, there's still that worry in the back of your mind. You're like, what about this? What about that? Even
Yeah.
if you left the kids with a family member who you know is very responsible, you're still sitting there going, what did I
Exactly.
do properly? Shame, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no, it's cool. It wasn't a
There's never
bad thing. It was just like,
gonna
huh, good.
there's never gonna be total relaxation, right? That's just the sad reality for you.
Well, not for the next 18 years, no. After that, I'm out.
No. Not even 18 years.
Out.
Like, I heard some parents talking the other day. They're like, "Oh, it's not even when they leave your house, you still can't relax because then they grow
Yeah.
up and then you have to worry about them as adults." Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, it's a new trend these days. Like a lot of kids in inverted commas are simply like not leaving the nest, but it also has a lot to do with, various factors, the economy, jobs, blah 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 blah.
Well,
So you're
I
right.
mean, one of the biggest problems is throughout the, like, Western world, kids are just
Yeah,
staying in their parents' houses for much longer because they can't afford property. Buying property is
exactly.
so expensive and out of
Mm,
reach for most people, you know? I think
no,
that's
100%.
actually that's really sad, if you ask me.
No, it's pretty messed up, especially if you know you're good for it, you can afford it, but the banks just don't want to approve the loan. They're just not interested in helping you out, but they're more than happy to give you like a loan for other things. Like if you just want to like borrow some money or whatever the case for like
Right.
something short term, oh, they'll give it to you. But when you need them for something real, like a car or a house, they're like, we're not sure about you. You're looking a little bit sus. So it's pretty messed
Jeez.
up. But no, Gareth, I will not be housing any of my 5 children when they are past the age of
No,
18. No, they gotta
definitely.
go.
No,
They
definitely
gotta
not.
go.
I you I can't imagine you putting up with kids. But listen, there was this story, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on this, about this
Yeah.
restaurant in America that went viral after they charged a mother $50 for a bad parenting fee. Now, mm, before I hear
Mm,
your opinion on this, because I actually think you might have a more nuanced opinion than people think about this, but I'm actually against people punishing. I've got to be very careful how I say this, because I've always thought if you're a bad parent and your kid behaves badly, you should be responsible. Like, let's
mm,
say your kid does something completely antisocial, then you should be charged with whatever that kid is. And I'm talking about crimes, right? Because
yeah.
there's something about parenting that, like, you are responsible. But I
Mm,
think doing this is very capricious, because what if the restaurant is just like owned by or run by someone who's just like a miserable person who hates kids, and they will
a
find
prick.
every excuse that, yeah, prick, who has every excuse to, like, find parents guilty of stuff because they're an angry, bitter and twisted single person who's never had children. That's not good,
Mm, mm.
right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the first thing is like, what was the child doing that would essentially equate the mother to being a bad parent in inverted commas? Was the child making a noise? Were they disturbing other people? Blah. Like, we need to first, get the receipts as far as what did
Details.
this child.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need the details because I was in a Lyft flight going to Cape Town and coming back from Cape Town. And on both of those flights, there were kids, like little toddlers, making a
Mhm,
shitload of noise, like the whole time. But I sat
mhm.
there and I was like, dude, like, I paid for this ticket in the same way that the parents paid for this ticket. If I
Right.
knew for a fact I did not want to be, in any contact with this kind of potential, I should have booked British Airways, bloody, bloody, blah, that can, assure me that I won't be engaging with any kids
Well,
making noise. Some
yeah, and
establishments are family friendly. If you don't want to be in a restaurant that has a kid that's making a noise, there's a restaurant next door that I
yeah,
promise
and
will
and
probably.
I mean, and it's easier with restaurants because there are those places that are not for children. Like, they explicitly
Yes.
say, we are not a family restaurant. But
Yes.
if you're like a Spur, you can't make a
Yeah.
policy like this. If you're and I have no problem with Spur. I'm not knocking them or praising them. I'm just saying, like, you expect to see kids at Spur, right? And there's the
100%.
playground, and they've got those slides, and so if you go to one of those places, you're going to deal with kids.
Of
And
course.
similarly, I still wish there was an airline that was for, if people wanted to pay a premium to not have children on the flight,
Sure.
then there should be an airline that does that. But if you're going on some, like, low cost flight and you've paid, I don't know, maybe a couple of
Yeah.
hundred,
Like
couple of
entry
thousand,
level.
then you
Mhm.
really don't have a choice about who sits next to you. You don't have a choice about who's noisy or who's fat or any of that shit. But if you and I wish there was, I think there would be a great gap in the market for an airline if we had enough airlines in this world. Maybe post COVID, it's a little bit difficult to do, but there was a
Yeah.
time where it was entirely within the parameters of the possible. And then, if you paid in a little extra, you could be on a plane, or you could be in the front of the plane, let's say, and they're only
Yeah.
babies, like, right at the
A
arse
lot at
end of
the
the
back.
plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows? But in a restaurant, you have the right of admission reserved, so you're allowed to say, "Well, we don't have children in this restaurant." But
Of
if you're a
course.
if you're a grumpy, sort of angry
Prick.
single person who's never had a kid, and I'm often very aware of this because I know people who just really hate children, and I'm not one of those people, right? But there
Mm.
are people like that. So, funny thing is that if you are one of those people and you go to a family friendly place, you have no right to complain. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, and we've got
No,
so many options. Gareth, there was a time where, as a parent, you could only go to one restaurant and take your kids because there's like a play place. We all know, but now there's literally more options that you can go to. And also, like, when I think about we're taking the kids out for lunch, I don't want to be in a place, where I can't let my kids run amok, go play, meet other kids,
no.
have child minders. They are. they are built for that because they know at the nature of children is curiosity. Kids essentially are just in this world and they're like, whoa, what is that? What is this? They
Yeah,
are going to be loud. They are going to ask questions. They are curious beings. And as a parent, you're not always going to be able to just control that and shut that down in order to accommodate John and Jack and Lucy who are sitting next to you in the
right.
same restaurant. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, when I heard that some restaurants allow, little cats and little dogs to sit at the chairs, I was like, oh, that would completely make me uncomfortable because, ew. But for some people, like, that is their thing and that is their vibe, So just
Yeah.
find a place that'll accommodate you and just keep it moving.
Well, this restaurant, so apparently what happens there is that they've decided they're implementing a bad parenting fee. So like let's say your kids are climbing all over the furniture and they're screaming and they're like drooling and they're
Yeah.
causing all kinds of shit. Then the restaurant has the ability, because I suppose, again, rights of admission reserved, they can do what they want, that they will add a $50 fine to the bill if
That's
your kids are
bullshit.
like running through the restaurant screaming. Well, if you know that the restaurant has that rule and maybe they say so at the door, I mean, they'd have to, right? They'd have to warn you beforehand. They can't just add
Can't just
$50.
do that. Yeah.
But if they do, let's say they tell you at the door or, it's included in their terms and conditions. And when you book, someone says to you, well, listen, Miss Hosanna, I just want to tell you, like, we have
By
this
the way,
policy. Then you can always decide beforehand, okay, well, that's bullshit. I'm not going to do that and go somewhere else.
mm, mm.
Or you can go,
Definitely.
okay, I better just know what my kids are up to. So I'm torn on this.
How?
I'm torn
How?
on this.
Show me
I
one parent that is gonna know what their kids are up to all the damn time. These little rascals are crazy, guys. They be thinking
mm,
for themselves. They be all over the show. There's no parent that'll always know that. This is exactly the thing. If you get to a restaurant and they say, "Look, bro, we have a rule that if your kids are doing ABC, you can't be here. Go next door, find another place, or maybe do it like a date night for you and your partner only." I just think we have to, be lenient, but that restaurant can't charge you for that bad parenting because again, what is bad parenting? What is
yeah.
exactly if your
Well,
child is called
so let
drooling, bad
so let me ask
parenting?
you, what do you
Kids
think is
drool.
okay, what is oh my god. So what is bad parenting? You tell me.
Exactly. Well, lucky enough for you, Gareth, I actually recorded a whole episode. I've got a whole podcast on Life with Lebang about what bad parenting is, right? But to
Right.
summarize, if you
Yeah.
are if you're in a public space for the purpose of this context, just know your children, just be one-on-one with your kids and understand that if I take my child into this kind of environment, will they manage or not? Like, I can tell you for free, my kids cannot be on an airplane at this stage. They are too rowdy. They lack a lot of self-control. They're still at that age where they're curious about everything, so they'll
And they're like
be all over the
20
show.
of them. So yeah.
That as well, so I'd have to book out the whole flight. But if you know your children well enough, gee, then like you can definitely make better decisions. Like, I know my kid, I just need to take
Yeah.
out a book and then we'll be good to go. Or my kid suffers from blah blah blah, so maybe this is not a good idea. Know your children, read the room, make a decision. But as a restaurant owner, if you're gonna charge somebody for bad parenting, then let's have a full page spread
All
on
right.
your website as far as what bad parenting is.
Let's see what people in the comments are saying here and see if you and I are totally off the mark. So Mo Rabbit says, if you have a badly behaved children, go to Spur with the rest of the savages.
That's
Shame, that's
fine.
not very it's not nice to Spur. That's hilarious. Kids will be kids though, says Nico. They are
Yeah,
meant to be loud and silly to test those boundaries.
for
Who
sure.
gave the restaurant management the power to find those bad parents? That can't be a law. What the fuck, says Vincent. Well, you can do what you want in your own establishment. It's your house, your rules, you know?
But again,
And
find those bad parents. Like, what made
well,
them bad parents?
listen, I the restaurant can do what it wants. I mean, I remember going to a restaurant once where there was this really, really grumpy French chef, and he wouldn't allow you to put like salt and pepper on your food. And you just knew, even though it's your
Yeah.
food and you paid for it, if you go to this grumpy French chef's restaurant, he's gonna decide what you eat. And you just
Mm.
that's part of the fun. And there are these restaurants in America where you go, you pay to be insulted, basically. And you sit down, like the waitress is as rude as possible, and people love it because they don't they're not used to that.
It's part
Everybody's
of
so
the
like,
experience.
oh, the customer's king. So no, actually, sometimes they're not. And a lot of
Mm.
people who have restaurants love making food and love doing things their way. They're actually not that interested in customer service, which may sound counterintuitive, but that's part of what you get with some of these places. So
Mm.
up to them. Oh, please.
That's true.
This night. It's going to be a long December. Play around and be serious in January. Oh, this is about Simpiwe. She says she's yeah. Simpiwe is talking about relationships, which we'll get to on Friday. By the way, we'll get to that on the show. And then Mig says at a barber shop in an open layout small mall, a child was screaming with every snip. The Karens at the
Shame.
big they were not happy.
Shame.
Listen,
That poor child. Oof.
some kids don't like having their hair cut. Eh?
Like a lot. Wait, did you enjoy haircuts when you were a kid? Do you have any memories of like really loving that experience?
I
Or was it
honestly
like,
don't. I
meh?
don't remember, but I think we just had like my mom cut my brother and my hair until we were probably in primary school. So I don't think she
Yeah.
ever took it. We weren't taken to the barber, you know.
Mm.
Um, so here's an interesting point though, being made by astrophysics. Some parents just sit on their ass and do nothing when their kids are being disruptive. Not saying kids
Mm.
can't be loud and be kids, but there's also some lazy parents. Now that's a good point too,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Mm?
100% agreed. And that goes back to knowing your children. If you spend enough time with your kids and you're not a lazy parent and you engage with your children on a daily basis and you understand them, then you will know what will and won't work for them. If you just sit on your ass and leave your kids to be rowdy, then you're also part of the problem. You actually can't complain. But if you participate in the parenting and being a child back and forth ongoing journey, then you'll understand what to do and when to do it. It's not often that you're sitting and a child is being rowdy and the parent's just going to be like, oh, come on, stop. The parent should stand up and really get involved and be like, okay, come, baby, let's
Yeah.
work on this. If there's a parent that sits there, then the problem is the parent, never the child. It's highly likely that the problem is more likely the parents and not the child.
Well,
Just know
my
your
rabbit also
kids.
says, yeah, exactly. He says, try raising your kids to be polite in public. We knew when and where to behave. My parents made sure of that. Well, that's
100% good.
that's where I think like parenting and Lebang, you're right. I mean, you know this better than anyone else, right? There's certain rules that you tell your kids. Okay, we're going out to have supper at a restaurant, which is an exciting like outing. This doesn't
Mm,
happen every day, and you better behave when you're there. In other words, no
sure.
screaming at the top of your lungs, no running around with like a chicken drumstick in your hand, smacking other customers on the head, because otherwise
What is that?
we will put your ass in the car and take you home.
Sure. Sure.
Um, My kids get too excited and are busybodies. When we go out, I bring an iPad so they can watch cartoons. It keeps them quiet while we're eating.
See, and you know that because you know your kids. And how do you know your kids? By engaging with your kids daily, understanding them as they grow. This is what they like, this is what they don't like, this is what they can do, etc., etc. You're not gonna win this if you don't know your children. Like the end. There's no like copy paste of a child is a child is a child. Your child is a unique individual that you as a parent need to
Yeah.
invest in and get to know them so you can understand how they respond to situations and stop making excuses.
Well, that's why this isn't like cut and dried. I can't
Yeah.
believe that I don't have a strong opinion on this because I have a strong opinion on so many things to do with parents and kids.
Everything.
But in
Mm,
this one, I kind of get the restaurant's right to do and impose any rule that it wants. But I
yeah,
also I'm a little bit sympathetic to parents because my God, is it difficult?
it's
Like
tricky, Gareth.
there's a limited number of places, right, that you can take your kids.
Mm.
A child should
Sadly
not
so.
a child should not be an excuse for them to terrorize anyone and everyone. Tethered has to be limits to it, irrespective of where you eat. Your screaming mistake tells us a lot about you. Oh, Don, very judgy, but you know what? Yes, fair enough.
I mean,
And
let's be
our
honest.
our own Bakabantu says, can we say that being a lazy parent who doesn't know their kids is a bad parent? I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah, I think that's fair.
yeah, yeah. We
Kids who
can back up
cry.
onto.
Snipe says kids who cry or roll on the floor on Black Friday and festive seasons, parents have a lot to deal with these days.
Ugh, it's not even just festive season and Black Friday. When you take your kids out to the mall in general, and it depends
Mm,
on their age, of course, but you should be ready for whatever. They will want whatever they see on the aisles. They will want to buy everything, grab every toy. Again, how
yeah,
you discipline your kids at home, how you engage with your kids at home will obviously show in the outside world. What's happening in public is essentially how you are parenting in private. So make sure you've got it on lock in private, or at least intentionally working towards it, so that when you are out in the mall, your child isn't embarrassing you, getting you fines at restaurants, and you're
Right.
having to shout and just make sure you get it on lock. And kids these days are completely different to how we grew up. Now it's like they want everything because they're exposed to everything. They want every single thing that they see online. And how do you say no politely without them having a panic attack? It's
Well,
it's it's a lot.
that's a
It's
whole other thing.
complex.
Is that I think that there are really irritating, painful parents who just pander to
Oh yeah.
everything their kids want, and that's just as bad as the Karens and all the others, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
All right,
Definite.
so Yonda wants to know from you, Lebang. You say,
Yeah.
"What is a bad parent?" But you agree with comments that point out what these are. Bad parents exist, and I see it most of the time at homes and in public. So, what do you think? Like in
Yeah.
terms of a child's behavior, what would you find it appropriate to blame the parents for?
As far as appropriate to blame the parents for, it's unruly behavior that the parents can't control. And all of that goes back to, I don't spend enough time with my child, and therefore I don't know how to manage them during this time. So, for example, a 2-year old who's a toddler, toddlers have to go through, these freaking out experiences. They have to go through
Mhm.
little rage moments because they are toddlers. It's part of the growing up process. If you as a
Mm,
parent don't know how to manage that or identify that, oh, this is what my child is experiencing, you are essentially a bad parent because you're not parenting intentionally or well enough to understand that, this is the phase that my child is going through. Let me let
mm,
them finish, and then we can sit down and talk about it. If you're just going to sit back and be like, stop what you're doing, da-da-da, da-da, shouting, and, not trying to understand what your child is experiencing, then that says to me that you're not intentionally being a parent. And in my opinion, that does make you a bad parent because you're not understanding your child. You're not making the efforts to understand your child. If you've got a 2-year old, maybe don't go to restaurants because 2-year olds are going to have
mm.
these experiences,
That's a good
or go
that's
to
a good
restaurants that allow it.
yeah, I like a two-year-old. Is that the toughest age of all?
Definitely. Like
Terrible
2-year
food?
old, like the toddler phase, I'm going through it twice because I've got two that are around that age. It's chaos,
Mm.
it's manic. I intentionally have to really think about, okay, I wanna take the kids out, but I know we can't go to, like, a Papa's at Santon. Let me maybe try something else. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
understand what my kids are going through right now, but also, Gareth, that's because I'm an intentional parent. I understand my children. I spend so much time with them. So if we are in situations where I'm
Okay.
like, okay, it's about to pop off, I need to be
Alright.
ready. I need to be prepared.
I think this is pretty damn interesting. There's
It's a
there's
lot of
no
work.
cut and dried way. So
Oh, no.
apparently, if you wanna see bad parents, Andy says, watch a movie called Old Dads. Flip, someone got angry. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie, but I will.
Old days.
And Kampamba says, I think this is quite sensible. As adults, we mostly can have kids, but choose not to for good reasons. If you choose to have them, your decision must not spoil my night out. Discipline your
Sure.
children or keep them at home.
You have to discipline your children. You have to, absolutely, or else they will be in charge and you'll be
Yeah,
so
yeah.
bad.
Oh, yeah,
Woo!
of course, because they're always pushing to see how far they can push you. And
Oh,
Lindy
yes.
says, I think this is also sensible. 2 and 3 hardest years when they're growing up, they lose their shit because they can't communicate their frustration. It's
Yeah.
hard as yeah.
They just don't have the words. They don't have the vocab. So all they do is just, wow, it's body language. They scream
So
and shout.
apparently you know about the new rules for Airbnb in Cape Town in November. Are these real rules or are these just rules that you've made for
So this
yourself
is
or
what I'm trying to figure out, right? Like, because I don't often use Airbnb. I've just had, I told you I got banned from the app, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, so
Jesus, how
at this,
embarrassing.
oh, dude, I won't lie. When I say it out loud, I'm like, oh shit, actually. um,
Ah,
we were staying at
yeah,
this Airbnb and we all had to like give our IDs, right? It was like a 3-sleeper or like a
yeah,
3-bedroom 6-sleeper. So everybody that was going to be sleeping there had to submit their IDs. So one of
right.
my friends was like, why do we all have to give our IDs? Can't just the person booking?
Oh,
And
that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. And that person who I'm speaking of is like a lawyer. So he was like, oh, I'm not necessarily comfortable with this because da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, cool. But this is what the owner of the Airbnb is asking. Let's all just submit. We submit.
Rules is
So now,
rules.
rules is rules, baby. And this is Cape
Mm,
Town. So now we want to have some friends over at this Airbnb. Now they also have to submit their IDs, even if they're only there for like 2 hours. Yo,
Hmm.
Gareth, it was
Mm.
like, do we
Yeah.
have to like there's a line, there's like a limit, right? I get you the owner of an Airbnb, you're trying to keep your security tight and you don't want to let any Tom, Dick, and Harry in, but you already have 6 IDs of the people that are staying there. Now the maybe 1 or 2 extra guests who just want to visit also have to. I don't know. I figured if there's any place where I can speak, it's here because there's probably people that own Airbnbs in the comments. Because I need to understand the logic as far as what is the line.
Yeah. What do we think of these rules? Talk about like
It's a
parents
lot.
and their rules. Like this is another whole
Yeah.
different world. I mean, see again, there's this balance of responsibilities and rights. As a client, you get to decide where you
Mm,
want to stay and whether or not you will go with those rules or not. But the
sure.
place that sets the rules doesn't have to let you in if you don't want to follow them.
That is the truth. However, Gareth, in this context, we're speaking about a person's identification document. Like it's not just a child screaming
Yeah,
or disrupting other people. Do you know what I
but
mean?
what's
This is
the
a,
difference?
a
I mean,
this is a
let me ask
closed
you.
area. This is a home for the day type thing where
Okay, so
you know
let
who's
me ask
already going
you
to be there.
straight up. First of all, this idea that your ID, if you give it to somebody or they take a copy of your ID, like this is some huge invasion of your privacy, is just such bullshit because we all know
Well, some
that
people get scammed.
everybody has your number already, whether you like it or not. Am I wrong?
Your cell number, yes, but your ID
Oh.
number, I don't. I'm not comfortable just giving it out to anyone. People are getting scammed just by knowing your ID number. At Home Affairs, dude, those
Mm,
lines are back because somebody just got access to my ID number and then they applied for this, that. I've got a friend who actually works in banking, and this is
mm.
what they deal with. She deals with on the daily. Hi, I think I've been scammed. What happened? They took my ID number,
Oh.
but it's a real thing.
Okay, so we
So
should be extra cautious about who we give our IDs to. So is
I
that
believe
your
so.
main concern, or is it just like bureaucracy and admin? Because I kind of hate the bureaucracy and admin too.
It's definitely the latter. Of course, we should be careful about who we give our ID to, but more than that, I'm
Mm.
trying to be on holiday, bro. I'm just hang out with my friends. You've got mine. I'm the person that booked. You have my details. Why do you need the details of every single person that I'm gonna be with in that environment? You know?
Well, maybe because you hang around with dodgy looking people. Maybe that's the story. And they're like, oh no, that,
Maybe it's
that Lebang,
me.
we better check out all of her friends' IDs to make sure that they're all legit because they look
You
like they could like trash the place.
The irony is that when we were downstairs having this argument with the security guard, we actually bumped into the person that owns the building. Middle-aged, white, fantastic guy who just loves life. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, where you guys going? Are you guys fine? Don't worry, let them up, let them up." I was like, "Oh." So we
Oh,
see
so he
again,
broke the rules because he liked you.
he broke the rules because we clearly aren't that bad looking. And I think he had a crush on one of my friends and whatever the case is. But the point
Well,
is,
then
you
you
know,
then okay, so the security guard was the one being a pain in the ass here.
because the rules are the rules, right? And if he fumbles the rules, he loses his job. And the rules are don't let anybody up if you don't have a copy of their ID. And then the owner of the building happened to just be walking past and he was looking great and loving life and was like, "Oh, why are there so many people here?" And then the
Mm.
security's like, "No IDs." But I was like, "Ah, come on, just let them up." So again, like,
Mm,
do you see what I
can't wait.
mean? Your rules are there, but you're not implementing your own rules. Now we all went out of our way, gave you copy of our IDs. It was just such a tedious little thing that
Okay.
I don't know if I agreed with.
Yeah. I don't know what we're gonna do here because obviously they have their rules.
Sure, as they should.
And and obviously this guy broke his own rules because he liked the look of you guys, which is such a weird reason to do something, but anyway, it
So
happened.
weird. Yeah, yeah.
So so you got away with it, so it's not an issue.
Yeah, I got away with it now, but I'm not always gonna get away with it, Gareth. I'm not always
Well,
gonna be, as good looking as I am
sometimes
now.
but sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not. That's the only thing that, I pull out of this is, like, some days it's your day, some days it's not. There's
Am
no
I
consistency
allowed
in the world.
I hear
The
you.
world is
Am I
not
allowed
fair.
to ask what is like when once you have this information and you have my ID, like what is the purpose of having it? What is your am I allowed to ask that or must I just sit and take it as it is and
I
be like,
think
"Oh,
you're
rules are rules."
always I think you're always allowed to ask what people want with your ID.
Oh,
Why
definitely.
why do you need this? I think, it's like, for
Hmm.
example, they can't search your car at a roadblock without, like, explaining to you why they need to search your car or whether they've got a
Sure.
warrant or whatever. They can't just, the police can't pitch up at your house and say, "Hey, we're going to rifle through your possessions." They need to explain
Yeah.
themselves. I don't think that's
No, for sure.
unfair or unreasonable. Huh?
Yeah, then I should have done that. I should have done that. I just kind of like let it slide because I didn't want to be that person. But a
Well,
part of me was like, this is not as chilled as I thought it would have been.
let's see if anybody disagrees. Uh, Pretty
Hmm.
privilege, says Tracy. That's fair. That happens all the time. I've
Everywhere
always
you
said
go.
that that's the number one privilege in the world is pretty privilege.
It is.
If they
It
see
is.
you, if they say you and see you and they go, "Oh, well, she's good looking. I'll let her slide this time." But when some fat ugly person walks in, you're like, "Sorry." Of course, it's unfair, but it happens. 100% right. When you see the damage done and accounts not paid, also some body corporates insist.
That is true. No, Gareth is actually very right. In fact, Sweet Pea, you're right. There are cases where some people will book Airbnbs and then they'll completely trash
Sorry,
them. They'll mess it up. Welcome back, Gareth. So I'm saying
sorry.
some people will book your Airbnb and they'll completely trash it and they will damage the property. They will
Mm-hmm.
steal your shit and you'll sit there and you'll be like, damn it, I should
Yeah.
have taken everybody's IDs. So I get it, but
Mm.
everybody's IDs or just the person that's booking?
Well, again, if let's say it was your property, okay, and this is
Yes.
you were renting out your own house that you live in,
Mm.
what would
Which
your rules be, and what kind of things would you insist on before you'd let people use your house?
Yo, like
Because
firstly,
that's the key.
I'd have to strip my house of everything that I care for and that's expensive
Because
because
people
obviously
treat
like
you like shit.
people be people and trust people to behave like human beings. I think the first rules obviously would be things like no throwing parties. I'd have like a maximum number of guests limit, like between a certain time. So after like 8 p.m., if the people aren't sleeping over, if they're not part of the
Yes.
people that are then they have to leave. That kind of thing. Sign at security, blah 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 blah. Like just like those kinds of things. But I will not expect every single person that's gonna walk into the property to give me a copy of their ID. Like more than anything, I'd expect the person that's booking because that's the person I'm dealing with.
Mm.
That's the person who's been vetted by the Airbnb app. That's the person who I'm gonna rate after the experience. You know what I mean? But I guess things are different for everybody. And what about you,
Well,
G? What
no,
are some of the rules that you'd instill? I
so
mean,
I've
already we know no shitting.
no, no.
Already that we know.
No, so look, I would never first of all, I would never rent out the house I actually live in, even if it could
Mm,
make me a lot of money, because 'cause I've got all my stuff lying around, and it's not a hotel. Like, it's my
sure.
home, and I've got pictures with family, and I've got all sorts of stuff in my house that makes it my house, and I'm the only one who lives here. I wouldn't even
Mm,
let people stay here if I'm not in the house, and if they do stay here for more than one night. So that's out of the question. But
mm,
I mean, I have, owned property in the past and then let tenants stay there. And you got to have
yeah,
some rules, but I'm not a draconian landlord. As long as you don't ruin the place, break it down,
sure.
I can't tell you what someone's doing there when I'm not there. And I'm not, it's none of my business really. If they're paying their rent,
If they've
then they
paid,
must do
yeah.
what they want to do. I do think though that people can decide because you can rate them and they can rate you on Airbnb, right?
Exactly. It's a two-way thing.
Oh, so I think you've got to have rules, but it's also up to the people who are staying there that they want to abide by those rules or not. And we've got festive
Mm,
season coming up, which means there's a huge demand for accommodation in places like Cape Town. And if the demand is higher than the supply, then the people who own the B&Bs can decide the rules. They've got more leeway.
yeah.
If supply outstrips demand, then the customer can come in and say, I'm not going to abide by those rules. So this is what works, and this
Mhm.
is what's so beautiful about the free market. And the people don't understand is you always have the right in the free market to say, you know what? These are my conditions. And then the
Yeah.
person who's selling you something or that you're buying something from they can decide, well, these are my rules, and you come to arrangements. Otherwise, you just walk away. Nobody's forcing you,
Sure.
compelling you to do it.
Please check out Tracy's comment. I love it. It's literally exactly what we're speaking of.
All right. So she says, in June, we were a group of friends. We booked an Airbnb. We had a horrible weekend. Place was cockroach infested, one working bathroom between 13 people, and we were stuck in floods, etc., etc. Oof, Jesus, that sounds bad. The Airbnb then stalked us on all of our socials to see if we had a bad time. We had
Oh
kids
my
with us,
God.
made the best of a cuck situation. He refused to give us a refund. The owner also lied about the state of the road leading to his Airbnb. My one friend wrote off 2 wheels getting there. Yeah, you see,
You see?
people like people like that you've got to give really bad reviews to, and you should be
Mm.
allowed to if they've lied. I mean, that's terrible.
They lie. Yeah.
Didn't you go to some place a while ago and they put up pictures, but the pictures were nothing like the
It
place?
didn't match. Yeah, it didn't match at all. If anything, like you can see that late
Mm,
after the fact, when you look at the pictures again, you're like, wait a minute, this is one of those Pinterest
my God.
images, man. They just downloaded this from Google and they just talk so much trash and they get all of their friends to write the reviews. Like, I really enjoyed my stay there. It was amazing. When you go there, you're like, wait,
No,
what's going on?
bullshit
Yeah,
is
you have
this.
to really be careful. And I don't even trust thingies anymore, hey G. Reviews. Like reviews
Yeah,
have lost their, that thing. Because back in the day it was like, oh, if the review on Hello Peter or what
yeah,
tomato, if the review is a 5-star, you know it's gonna rock. Now it's like there's bots, there's this, there's that. Ugh,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
tough
again, you're going to
times.
get crooks on both sides. You're going to get people who come and stay in an Airbnb and then they don't pay, and they
Yeah.
and they bugger around. I mean, you're going to get people who just are assholes and want to leave a bad review and will do that no matter what because they just got a
Mm,
shitty attitude. And then you're going to end up with B&B owners who lie about the place and put up fake
yeah,
photos and make it sound like it's way better than it is and won't give you a refund
exactly.
if you've been
Mm-mm.
totally messed around. So you got to again be on the lookout for crooks because they are everywhere.
They
You
truly
know
are.
this. How many times have you been
Oh yeah.
scammed? I mean, like there's an ongoing joke on the show, right?
Dude, it's an ongoing joke for y'all. For me, it's my real life. The lady who scammed me of a Christmas tree last year is back in action. I saw, I saw her. She posted on Facebook this week.
Okay,
Same
hold on,
picture, same
hold on.
description.
So wait, just remind us of the scam with the Christmas tree because I've forgotten about.
Yeah, it's one of many. But the Christmas tree scam was basically this lady that lives I think it was like
Sorry.
Bolu, somewhere fancy in Kailami. And she
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, I've got this Christmas tree, it's only $700, blah blah blah." I was like, "Oh, you know what? Let me send you 350 now. Hold on to it for me, and then I'll pay you the rest on Friday." She's like, "Dude, perfect, say no more." I send her the
Yeah.
money, and then now I'm ready with the other half. I'm blocked, blah blah blah. There's like I can't reach her. She's no longer on Facebook. She doesn't exist. So
Mhm.
eventually I'm like, okay, cool. Clearly I got scammed, whatever. Dog, the exact same image, exact same Christmas tree image, exact same description. She hasn't changed anything. Hi, I'm Charlene from Kyalami, and I'm selling this Christmas tree for $750. If anybody wants it, first come, first serve. I'm like, bitch. Like, that's my Christmas tree
You
from
have
last year.
yes, you have the worst luck, hey.
Ah, Doug, Doug, don't
I love
even.
the way that we all take the piss and we laugh, but to me, it's just kind of ridiculous how you just collect scammers.
Like, I should actually go on a thing where we find scammers and make them known and put them to justice
Yeah.
or something because wow.
You
Like,
you should be you should be like Isabel Jones was in the 90s. She used to have this fair deal program and she would go and she would bust scammers and she'd bust all these people who were like putting
yes.
fake products up and you could call it, Lebang's losses or something. And you just go to all the places and all the people and you hire like a private investigator
No,
and
and here's why I say no, because I did hire a private investigator for one of my other previous scams, and he scammed me too for 4 grand. I was so mad.
sorry,
I
I
was
shouldn't
so
be
mad.
laughing. That's
Like,
terrible.
ugh, it sucks. It sucks. But part of my New Year's resolutions 2024, just
Mm,
be an anti-scam attractor. Why am I always, attracting these scams?
yeah,
I just need to
shame. For
stay
you.
clear of them. Yeah. I'll
All
be a
right.
new person.
But you speak about Christmas trees. Is it time
Yes.
to have your Christmas tree up already?
I think so. I'm ready to go. I'm good to go. I just don't have decorations yet. But if I had them, I would have put it up like at least 2 weeks ago. I'm just like that kind of person. I want my kids to be involved in it. I want us to
Okay.
all like put it up together and like make it a thing. Like how we do here at Cliff Central. Like it's nice. It's fun. Um. So yeah, it's not up yet. Is yours up yet?
No,
Do
I
you
have
have one?
I have a hard and fast rule about Christmas trees. So I only put mine up around the 12th of December because there's this thing, I don't know, must be some Christian tradition that I
Yeah.
have just inherited because that's the culture. So I
Mm.
don't ask why, but I think, that there's that carol, the 12 Days of Christmas. So apparently you're meant to
Oh.
have your Christmas tree up 12 days before and 12 days after. That's the
Okay. That's the
maximum.
first time I'm hearing of this.
Okay, so you're not gonna like if you tell me it's bullshit, it's not gonna change my behavior because that's just how I'm used to doing it. So
Sure.
I will only put mine up on the 12th of December, which is still a couple of days away.
Yeah, and that still also gives you a bit of time. So it'll come down early Jan, first week or so?
Uh,
Or is
yeah,
it
it's
like
got to be done before I think the 6th of Jan. Because also once Christmas is over, I don't want to see any of that stuff anymore.
oh yeah. No, but they're also really quick with it. Like the shops, like very soon after Christmas, it's already back to school. They're telling you about stationery. Like for them,
Yeah.
it's all just, chop, 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 let's keep it going. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try get mine up as soon as possible. Then there's people that just keep it up as like part of the house decor, or they've been lazy to put it down. Now it's up all year. Come on, guys, get your shit
Well,
together. Come on.
some
After
some of these
March.
uh, some of these shops have had their Christmas stuff up since October. So, and I have to be honest, I haven't been to the shops for a little while, so I haven't really paid attention. But I
Yeah.
see them. There's that big Christmas tree outside Sandton City, which is right near our offices. I've seen that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then somebody's asking here, what are the budgets for Black Friday? Snipes wants to know. So Black Friday is this Friday.
Let me check my calendar. I think so. If it's the
Let's see.
22nd, yeah, Black Friday is this Friday,
Okay, right. So
24th.
what are we doing? Are you looking for anything? Are you going to be scammed anywhere in particular this year?
Any scams that I'm looking forward to. So I think with Black Friday, right, the trick is to know what it is that you need, right? If you go there as a blank
Yes.
canvas, you'll take things that you don't even need just for the sake of it. But if you know that this is my list of 4 things that I genuinely have been looking for all year and I would like to get a better price on them and a better deal, then you can go in there. But just don't get caught up in the hype because conspiracy is that there's actually not a lot of savings. Like they hike the prices up in October and in August, and then in November and Black Friday, they just put them back down to the original price and say, aha, discount. So we're just being fooled by these stores and these establishments.
Okay, so you know that you're the last person we should be asking, but
I'm not the guy.
no specific advice from you, Lebang. Is this what you're
Well,
telling
that
us?
that was my advice, and use at your own risk as well.
Uh, all right. Anybody who wants to take Lebang's advice, just be advised on the side that this is not always the best way to go.
Unless it's about parenting, but anything else, the views of these individuals are not the views of Cliff Central. Blah blah blah. T's and C's apply.
All right. So what do you have any can't believe I'm asking you this. Do you have any tips on so Lebang here, according to Bakabantu, we all want a TV for Black Friday. It doesn't matter how many TVs you have. Now that
That's
is
how they
true.
get you. That's how they
What
get
is
you.
this what is this obsession that we have in South Africa with like buying more TVs than you could possibly ever need? What is that?
Honestly,
Where does it
every
come
room
from?
in the house, every
What?
room in the house. There's houses that have
What
TVs in
is
the
that?
bathroom, my boy. While you taking a bubble bath, click
Why?
it. Watching stuff, kitchen for recipes, click it. Lounge, click it. Everything, passage,
Who
click it.
who wants a TV every why are we what's the thing with TVs? Someone
I
explain this to me.
I blame macro. Have you ever walked into a macro on Black Friday? These massive, huge TVs inside these tiny trolleys, and every year you're buying that same TV, Margaret. You're just getting a few more inches. It's like an addiction. I don't know, but
I've
it's
got
funny.
one TV in my house, and it's the same one I've had for 12 years. I'm so proud of myself.
Sure, good on you, Gareth.
I
Good
know.
on you.
Tabo says Black Friday doesn't excite me anymore. it's all a scam. If they still sold slaves, maybe slaves. So
Tabo.
Tabo's only going to get involved in Black Friday if they sell slaves.
Insensitive. Hey.
That's going to upset some woke people. Can you imagine?
Yes, no. There'll be a something out already, like Tabo Pali from the Gareth Cliff Show commented, and
Mm.
Gareth and Lebang just
Cancel
laughed.
him. Cancel him.
Yeah,
Oh,
hectic
Jesus.
times,
So
hectic
I
times.
put this, well, I didn't put it up, but I'm going to today. I'm going to put up this funny thing. Instead of giving
Yeah.
presents this year, I'm giving everyone my opinion. Be excited.
Oh joy. Oh
Yeah, like
joy.
you don't get enough of my opinion on this show,
Every
right?
day, every single day. What are you looking for, G, for Black Friday, if anything?
No,
Or you
no,
do you not participate? Are you not
I'll
the
tell you
guy?
what, I'm staying the hell away. So what I've done is I found this really cool present for, and I'm only buying for family this year. I know you're organizing a secret Santa at the office, so I have to contribute to that. But
Did you pick a name yet?
no, I haven't. How do I do that? Are you going to
There's
bring
an
me an envelope?
envelope there's an envelope on your desk, yeah, with names in it.
Someone's making fun of me. Carl says I've got a cathode ray TV from like the 1950s. No,
Like,
I
I
don't.
wonder, is
So
your TV smart? Is it a smart TV? Can you, like, watch Netflix and stuff, or
let's say it's a middling intelligence TV. It's not smart. It's like it's not
Yo,
it's not a stupid TV, but it's not like I wouldn't put it up
it's
against
not
your TV
okay. Okay.
in an intelligence competition, however that would work. So I don't really look for anything for Black Friday because
Okay.
I know if I go onto one of these tech websites or these, take a lots or whatever, I'm gonna find something and then I'm gonna go, oh,
Mm,
well, maybe I should buy that. That's just a bad idea. Just a
sure.
bad idea. Because if you don't need it, don't even look for it. And as for
Exactly.
buying presents for other people, I think it's got to be something thoughtful. You've got to really think about that person and what sort of stuff you
Mm,
think they would want, and that's a different kettle of fish completely. That's not about just buying something on Black Friday. So I'll
sure.
save that for when I'm doing my Christmas shopping, which usually happens at the last minute, and then I'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
good on you, Gareth. I don't think I've received a Christmas present in years. Like, I just haven't gotten one. Like, "Hey, Lebang,
Oh,
Merry
shame.
Christmas." Wah, 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 wah.
Guess who's feeling sorry for herself because she hasn't had a present for years.
Oh, woe is me. I have been gifting though a lot. Like, all my kids every year, like, there's this tradition of buying Christmas clothes, like where your kids have to come out looking fresh and clean on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole vibe. So
No,
I'm
that's
really
nice.
looking forward to shopping for the kids, and getting them toys and whatever the case is. But the toys never
Right.
make it to Jan. Always just mess up the toys before we
No,
even go back to school. I promise you. I promise you, it
there's
is
no
what it is. Like,
chance.
I'm telling you, dog, you buy the presents, they
Mm,
open them up on Christmas, and by like the 3rd of Jan, those same presents are dusted. The remote control car is in 7 pieces. The Barbie
yeah,
doll is all over the place. It's chaos,
right.
but it is what it is. It's part of the journey.
Ah. All right,
Yeah.
okay,
We
let's
didn't do
just talk
any
about something else.
news.
There's some new lingo in the world. We're gonna get to some news just before 7, but there's
Okay.
new lingo. What is ROMO? I know what
So
FOMO is. I know what JOMO
yeah,
is. FOMO, of course, the fear of missing out. JOMO is the
sure.
joy of missing out, which I definitely have. But what is
Yes.
ROMO?
So Jomo and Romo are probably like, same WhatsApp group. Romo is the relief of missing out, where you're like,
Oh, yeah.
phew, I didn't, I wasn't pressurized to participate in those funny things. And the older and older I get, the more Romo I have about stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not really in that point where it's like, oh, tomorrow there's a party, let's go. I go to the
Yeah.
things I want to go to, and I just stay away from the things I'm not interested in. And I'm quite impressed with myself for figuring this out, because I consider myself a little bit of a non-spring chicken. So there's terms that are coming out every day, like on TikTok, on X, where I'm like, what does this mean? What are they saying?
Are
I have
you
to ask
keeping up?
Simpiwe.
Are you keeping up with all this stuff?
Well, that's why having Simpiwe, Aaron, and Ryan in the office helps, because then they can translate and you don't feel as old anymore. But this one I figured out on my own. Romo, it'll be in the Urban Dictionary very soon. You heard it here first.
Okay, well now we know. You've
Yeah,
just given us a shortcut, so thank you for that. Because who needed to know about Roma? Me. But it's basically the same as
I
Jomo.
know.
All right. So apparently there was this plane that flew out of John F. Kennedy Airport en route
Mhm.
to Belgium, and a horse got loose in the cargo hold. Now, I didn't know that you could be on a passenger plane. This was a Boeing 747. And meanwhile, down underneath you in the cargo hold, there could be a fucking horse.
Not a whole horse. Maybe like a little
Uh,
papignana. A
a
horse.
whole horse broke loose, and they had to turn the plane around, go back, tranquilize the poor thing. It got injured because obviously, if it gets out,
Shame.
can you imagine the first of all the fear of that poor horse? You
Shame.
imagine you're like a horse, you don't know what the hell's going on. Suddenly
Like,
you're
where
in
am
this
I?
well, you're in this closed thing, you can hear just noise. Maybe there are other animals in there as well. I mean, this is frightening, right?
That is quite scary. That is quite scary.
Jesus.
Damn, poor horse.
Poor horse. And I would be pissed off if I were one of the people on that plane and then they had to turn around because of this stupid horse and the fact that these people hadn't secured it properly or made
Yeah,
sure,
but it's not the stupid
you know?
horse, Gareth. It's the stupid people who are responsible for making sure that the horse, knows what's up, is tied
No,
into its thing,
no,
and
no.
like,
Stupid horse.
no, no, it's not stupid horse. It's stupid humans. The horse
I
is
would
just
be
minding its business.
so
The horse didn't say, "I want to fly to another country. Put me in an airplane. I've never flown before." The horse was just galloping away. Someone decided, "I want to move you to my country so that we can make money off for you. Do races, do horse races." And now look, I blame humans.
stupid horse. All right. So a horrible story, but they managed to shame. They managed to bring everything under control, and it climbed to 31,000 feet when the crew contacted air traffic control in Boston to report that the horse had escaped. I don't know, and maybe someone who's been in a plane or been on cabin crew or whatever, you could tell us how this works. Can you get into the cargo hold from the passenger hold? Because I remember watching Air Force One with Harrison Ford years ago, and
Mm.
it's about how the American president gets hijacked in his plane, and I'm wondering about whether or not the two cabins are even linked. So if somebody knows, I'd be really interested in that. But anyway, the apparently the horse which had partially escaped its stall had to be euthanized. So shame they had to put it down due to its injuries. I mean, what a
Shame.
horrible thing to happen.
You see?
Poor horse.
So we agree, poor horse.
Look, you stop it, all right? You know what I mean. Oh,
Shame,
what a
man.
situation.
Nah, that's
Jeez.
so uncool. Very uncool.
What? Horrible. What a thing to happen. Anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and while we're talking about these planes, this is gonna make you nervous just ahead of the holidays, but
Mm.
a US-bound plane took off from London last month with 4 damaged windows, including 2 that were completely missing, according to UK air accident investigators. The single aisle aircraft, which was an Airbus A321, could seat more than 170 passengers. A small group of passengers were seated in the middle of the cabin just ahead of the overwing exits. The missing windows weren't discovered until the plane was at 13,000 feet.
How, Sway?
Several passengers. Now, these are the least observant people you've ever met in your life on this plane because several passengers recalled that after takeoff, the aircraft cabin seemed noisier and colder than they were used to. A crew member walked towards the back of the aircraft where he spotted a window seal flapping on the left side of the aircraft. This This bunch of people on this plane must have been some of the dumbest people because they only realized with the noise and the cold. No one was even
Well,
looking at the windows. When I sit down at a window seat, I look at the window. Don't
and
you?
yeah, with the plane, obviously, it's not just like one slab of glass, right? It's like the actual glass, and then there's the side, the one on the side, then there's the one on the inside. It's not just like one thing. So if that whole thing is gone, then somebody needs to get fired, and it has to be someone in the crew. I'm sorry, we can't blame passengers. I blame the crew. You guys,
Yeah.
it's an Airbus. You guys work on
Right.
it. You
No,
walk
it's
up and
always
down all the time.
passengers. No, I know, but passengers, like, if I saw that my window was not sealed
Missing.
properly, I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Excuse me, bing, listen, there seems to be a problem here." 'Cause I don't wanna
Yeah, I
take a
know.
chance getting up there into the, stratosphere, and then suddenly you've got, like, cold
The
air rushing
breeze.
out, rushing
Like,
in, or
oh, it's
sucking
colder than
everything out
usual.
into the yeah, you don't want that. But I
I
do
blame the
agree.
captain. I blame the
It's
captain.
it's the job of the crew and the captain, for sure.
Like, you
Um,
see at that point when he says, "This is the captain speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to flight for blah, 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 blah." That's where he should say, "Please note, we've got some missing windows and the back aisles. Blah, blah. Inform us. We need to know what's going on."
Alice says, "Lebang, I respect your opinions, but your horse voice is completely inaccurate. Horses don't speak like that."
My bad. You know, I've been slacking on BoJack Horseman lately. Whoopsie.
Yeah. Dave says, "It sounds like a scene from the Hangover movie." And Mig says,
Right?
"More glue when they put that horse down for the rest of us." How mean. Um,
Migs.
Slippery Pickle says, "Apparently, if you Google strategic paths between cargo hold and passenger compartment, I'm sure no security agencies will notice." So they do have ways of getting into the cargo hold. Hmm.
Hmm.
And VB wants to know, like, imagine if you got your luggage on the conveyor belt and your luggage comes out full of horse shit.
Who do you sue?
This is not cool. This would make me very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
The
no,
horse
that's
and
nasty.
the unsealed window.
Look, ignorance is bliss. What I don't know won't hurt me. Put the horse down there, put snakes down there, put whatever you, as long as I don't interface with it, you're
Right.
right. It's sharp. The less I know, the better.
Well, when we come back, I will introduce our special guest for the morning. We recorded this on Monday because he was in Johannesburg for the first time in a long time. And I think you're going to enjoy hearing from this guy, especially in the couple of months leading up to our election. It's always good to speak to people who have an experience of politics from the inside. And I'll tell you who that guest is in just a moment. As for Lebang and I, we're done for this morning, but we will be back in just a minute. I'll be back in just a minute or two to introduce our guest, which is, I'm sure, going to be one of your favorite interviews of the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks. That's all coming up. Don't go anywhere. It is Wednesday morning. This is CliffCentral.com.